Hey, what's up, everybody? Back with another video from Kiev, Ukraine. And as you see by the title, we are talking about World War III. And so I know a lot of you are going to think right off the bat that this is a clickbait title, but honestly, truly, I do believe we are in the on the precipice, in the beginning stages of World War III. So the big news coming out of Russia right now is the fact that North Korea has deployed 10 to 11,000 troops to be trained in Russia to either be sent to Ukraine to fight or to be used in Russia around the Kursk region to repel the Ukrainian offensive in the Kursk regions.
South Korea's spy agency says North Korea has deployed thousands of troops to support Russia's war efforts in Ukraine.
Russia is training North Korean soldiers to participate in the war against Ukraine at 4 military grounds, according to RBC Ukraine sources within Ukraine's intelligence services. The training is undergoing at military sites in Khabarovsk, Ussurisk, Blagoveshchensk, and Vladivostok. Kirill Budanov.
So, kind of look at this, start off tactically. You follow my channel, you know I'm not a tactical guy, I'm an operational and strat level guy. So who's a strategic intelligence officer for years. And so I look at the bigger picture. So we'll go ahead and start tactically. Tactically, what does this mean? So 10 to 11,000 people. So to put it in context for you, a U.S. Army brigade is roughly 3 to 5,000 people. A division is 10 to 15,000 people. So this would probably qualify roughly as a U.S. division. Is that enough to change the tempo on the battlefield? No. Especially considering these are probably not going to be their special forces guys, even if they were. When's the last time Korea was actually engaged in conflict? That would be the Korean War. So these are not battle-tested, battle-hardened soldiers. They are not well-disciplined soldiers, and now you're going to be mixing North Korean and Russian military doctrines together, and these soldiers are going to be under the purview or the leadership of Russian command and staff. So I don't see these guys as being what we would consider a force multiplier at all. Operationally, operationally, where they might be useful is if they were sent to the Kursk region, then Russia could redeploy some of those forces in Kursk back over to the eastern part of Ukraine to re-engage in their offensive there. So that might be useful operationally, and strategically is where this bothers me, because this signals that North Korea is no longer afraid of direct engagement, no longer afraid of a Western response to its direct engagement in this conflict. So this means we, the collective West, have now lost the strategic deterrent, which we have enjoyed since World War II as strength through peace. So to secure peace is to prepare for war. Nobody invaded the U.S. because we had a strong military. That's a lot of people want what we have in the U.S., but nobody was willing to actually go against us because we had strength through deterrence. We had our military deterrent. So North Korea no longer sees this as a threat anymore. So this worries me a little bit. I think this is going to have some fallout from the upcoming U.S. elections. So what do I mean by that? So current policy under the Biden-Harris administration was just to kind of drip feed Ukraine what it needs to survive, not really to give it what it needs for a decisive win. Doctrinally, the U.S. isn't even following its own military doctrine. What I mean is it hasn't declared a strategic end state. As long as it takes or until the end are not strategic end states. We always have a strategic end state. That way you can backwards plan from. So we haven't done that. And it's the current administration policy and direct action or lack of indirect action in Ukraine that it has emboldened North Korea to no longer see the U.S. and the West as a threat. So I would think if Kamala Harris wins the presidency and it's a continuation of the Biden administration's policy, then that's going to be kind of dangerous. If Trump were to win and force Ukraine to capitulate, then that would be disastrous for us as well. That's what a lot of people are pushing. They're saying that if Trump's elected, he's automatically going to defund Ukraine because of what he says. Well, they're interpreting what he has said. He hasn't actually come out and said that. In fact, historically, if we look at the policies that Trump implemented during his first administration, you would see that he was quite aggressive towards Russia, and specifically North Korea. Trump is an egomaniac. He's an opportunist, and but the one thing he does not like is the U.S. being threatened. And when North Korea kept threatening to nuke the U.S., Trump said, the next time you threaten the U.S., you will be met with a fire and fury like you've never seen before, and that stopped the threats. So, who wins the election and what actions they will take are going to have a direct impact on what happens in Ukraine. How aggressive Russia and North Korea decide to be. It's going to most likely have a direct impact on how emboldened China becomes in its pursuit towards regaining Taiwan. And I don't even know how to word this. On October 1st, Iran fired 1,500 ballistic missiles into Israel, and then on October 7th, there was the Hamas attack as well. So Iran and Hamas have both been emboldened as well by inaction of the U.S. And this is the one thing I've been worried about looking at this from the strategic level. I knew that our near peer competitors and adversaries were watching our response very close in Ukraine, and I knew a lack of response or a lack of a regressive or any lack of an aggressive response would embolden our adversaries, and we're starting to see this, and this is what really is starting to worry me now, because we can take a lesson from history. We are sitting here watching the axis of evil reform, and it's going to be Russia, China, North Korea, and Iran. And 3 out of 4 of these states are now involved in direct actions, with China being the one ready to pounce on Taiwan. So this is a pretty scary time we live in. I've been trying to warn people about this, and I get laughed at, told that I'm too close to the fire, or I need to take a breath. And no, I'm worried about this specifically because I watch these things, because I've been watching these things for over a decade, and it really worries me. So I know that the G7 leaders just had a meeting this weekend to kind of look at what's going on in Ukraine, and I don't know how that's going to go. North Korea's got people to send, and they sent 10,000, and I don't know. What's strange for me is Russia, excuse me, Putin has already said anybody arming Ukraine will be considered a military target, and any support personnel, even in the roles of advisors being sent to aid Ukraine, would be seen as legitimate military targets. So he says that while saber rattling the nuclear deterrent, while at the same time he fires drones from Iran, missiles from Iran, other electronic munitions with components from China, and now missiles from North Korea and 152 millimeter howitzer shells from North Korea, in addition to now deploying North Korean troops. So he keeps threatening everybody to do the things that he's already doing, and for some reason, the West is self-deterring. They're letting him saber rattle, and they're bending a knee. And when it comes to countries like North Korea and Iran, diplomacy does not work. Those countries only understand strength, and so this, hopefully, we're going to go into this winter, into kind of the winter freeze without serious incident. We'll be doing a transition of presidential authority in the U.S. either to Harris or Trump, and I don't know. Next year, 2025 might be a serious year for security policy in Europe and throughout the world. Since the biggest fear I see, the biggest concern I have of this is, since the end of World War II, we have had a rules-based order, and Russia doesn't like that. China, North Korea, Iran don't like that, and they are seeking to disrupt that rules-based order. They're no longer abiding by and adhering to international norms and agreed upon treaties and standards. So like I said, this is starting to get scary because they've already decided to challenge the rules-based order, and now we have to decide, are we going to respond to that challenge, or are we just going to let them do what they want? And so, like I said, this is kind of scary. I don't want to drone on a lot about this. I haven't done a video for a while. I'm getting ready to leave next week to go back to the States for a few months. And so I wanted to do a video before I take off. And this is the one thing a lot of people are talking about right now. But a lot of people are talking about it, what difference it's going to make on the ground. And that's not why I want to look at this, because I don't think it's going to make a difference on the ground. I think the bigger meaning as to why North Korea was emboldened to do this is the thing we should really be concerned about. Because like I said, that's what's going to get to the policies and the reaction or lack of reaction from the West, the collective West. And so we are at a tipping point now. We need to decide: are we going to respond, or are we going to continue to bend a knee and let these new, basically Axis powers continue to walk all over us? And so, politicians in the States and other countries are just complaining about money. That seems to be more important to them. Even though I've talked about this, as of right now, the U.S. has spent approximately 3% of our annual defense budget, not overall budget, just our defense budget, since this began, 3% each year. And that's not a whole lot. We're at around $174 billion and total. And if you know anything about history, when we initiated the Lease Lend Act, I believe in May 1941, prior to us entering the war, we were giving Britain, adjusted for inflation, approximately $40 billion a month until we entered the war. And the 4 years we were in the war, it cost the U.S. approximately $4 trillion. And 400,000 lives or something like that. So as of right now, we've spent 3% of our defense budget over the last 3 years. Attrited a near-peer competitor, approximately 50% of their pre-war manpower and equipment, have not cost a single American life except for the ones who came voluntarily. And that's a pretty good return on investment. And so for just a fraction of what an all-out war, full-scale war would cost, we have a chance to stop these people. The combined GDPs for NATO countries is 22 trillion. We have the production capacity and the military capacity to end this. We just need a political will. So this is something I'm really concerned about, more than I have been in a long time. And I hope a lot of you are taking it too, and are thinking about this too. And I hope you do not let political narratives drive your decisions to hold our politicians and military personnel accountable for basically keeping everybody safe. So good luck to everybody out there. I'll be doing a new video maybe this next week. I'm going to try to do one more before I get out of here, based off a question that somebody asked me on Facebook. And I really thought about that, maybe more on that later. If not, I'll be doing some videos while I'm at home as well. Take my drone home, do a little more flying, and yeah. All right, man. See you guys soon, and good luck to everybody. Take care.